Hi everyone, my name is Douglas Kereo. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Kereo Education, the #1 education channel. In this channel, we'll be covering all economics, IGCSE, AS and A2 content, including solving past examination questions. Please feel free to watch, like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask on the comment section below. In today's lesson, we are going to learn about different types of exchange rates and also the key difference between fixed and floating exchange rates. Welcome. Now, the topic is exchange rate, and under exchange rate, our specific objectives will be the meaning of an exchange rate and the determination of exchange rate. Simple stuff. Now, what's an exchange rate? Exchange rate is the price of a country's currency in terms of another country's currency. Price of a country's currency in terms of another country's currency. For example, a dollar is equivalent to, say, for instance, 1.60 pounds. That is an exchange rate. Now, how do we determine the exchange rates? Two types: floating and fixed exchange rate. Now, let's look at the floating exchange rate. Now, here the exchange rate is determined by the forces of demand and supply. Now, let's see. This is quantity demanded and supplied. This is the exchange rate. Let's call it P. This curve shows the demand for the currency, and this one, the supply of the currency. Where the demand meets the supply curve, there is the equilibrium position. Therefore, for instance, this is the equilibrium. $1, using the previous example, equals 1.60 pounds. Now, in that case, this is the quantity of dollars demanded and supplied. And that is the equilibrium position. An increase in the demand for the dollar will shift the demand curve outward to D1 as shown. Now, that shift outward will lead to a new exchange rate. Look at that, guys. Equilibrium E1, quantity Q1, and a new exchange rate, let's say a dollar is equivalent to 1.70 pounds. A decrease in the demand for the dollar will shift the demand curve to the left, D2. In that case, the exchange rate will change from 1.6 pounds, $1.6 is equal to 1.6 pounds to a new exchange rate, for instance, 1.50 pounds. That is the floating exchange rate in terms of changes in demand. A decrease or increase in the supply of the dollar will equally alter the exchange rate. Let's see. Quantity demanded and supplied, price. Remember, we have to start from equilibrium where the demand and supply of the currency are equal. So in this case, again, let's use the exchange rate a dollar is equivalent to 1.60 pounds, and we have our initial equilibrium. Now in this case, an increase in the supply of the currency shifts the supply curve outward to S1, leading to a new equilibrium here, Q1, E1, at a low exchange rate. Dollar is equivalent to 1.50 pounds. Now let's see what's happening there. The increase in the supply of the currency has altered the exchange rate. This is also true for the decrease in supply. Let's see. When there's a decrease in supply, the supply curve shifts to the left, leading to a lower equilibrium quantity at a higher price or a high exchange rate. That is, a dollar is equivalent to, for instance, let's say 1.70. That is the effect of a decrease in the supply of the currency. So the forces of demand and supply freely have determined the floating exchange rate. Moving on, let's talk about the fixed exchange rate. A fixed exchange rate is set by the government, and the government does not allow it to change. So let's see. Now in this case, again, we have this as the demand for the currency and this as the supply of the currency. This is our equilibrium, Q, and we are having our exchange rate as a dollar is equivalent to, let's say, 1.60 pounds. Now in that case, we are at equilibrium at that point. Now what's happening? Let's assume the government wants to fix that exchange rate at a dollar is equivalent to 1.60 pounds. An increase in demand for the currency will shift the demand curve outward to D1, which leads to a higher exchange rate, as you can see clearly. However, the government does not want this exchange rate to change. So in that case, what does the government do? Simple. The government increases the supply of the dollar. So in that case, we have the supply curve shifting outward to S1. And that leads to a higher output or more currency demanded and supplied at Q1. Now you can see clearly the equilibrium exchange rate has not been altered. And that is how easy it is to determine a fixed exchange rate. See you next lesson.